A lot of Amazon sellers still treat their brand store like an afterthought. They'll spend weeks optimizing PPC, they'll obsess over listing images, they'll test pricing endlessly, but their brand store is basically sitting there just untouched. And honestly, for a long time, that was understandable because historically, brand stores didn't really feel like a major ranking factor or a growth lever for most brands. But I think that's starting to change in a pretty significant way. And recently, Amazon rolled out something that I think gives us a very clear signal about where the platform is headed next. They introduced something known as a new brand store quality rating system. Now, at first glance, this might just seem like another random dashboard metric Amazon added that most sellers will ignore. But after digging into it, I actually think this gives us a lot more information about Amazon's bigger strategy for 2026 and beyond. And if you're an Amazon seller doing anywhere between $20K to a few $100,000 a month, this is something that you probably want to pay attention to early before everybody else catches on. Because in my opinion, this is less about just store design and more about where Amazon wants customer experience to go long term. Okay, so what exactly is this new brand store quality rating? Essentially, Amazon is now evaluating your brand store based on a combination of engagement signals and structural recommendations. So what they're looking at is things like store dwell time, store attributed sales, store layout quality, the use of shoppable images, product grids, navigation structures, rich media like videos, and just overall store completeness. And they also benchmark your store against peer brands in similar categories. So Amazon is basically saying, compared to other brands like yours, how good is your customer experience? Now, initially, I assumed that rating would mainly depend on performance metrics like dwell time or sales. That would make the most sense, right? But after looking in deeper into multiple other client accounts and testing this across various brands that we manage, it became very clear that Amazon is heavily prioritizing whether your store follows structure and experience that they want sellers to adopt. And that's the interesting part, because if you look at it that way, this feels less like an analytics feature and more like Amazon quietly standardizing what a good brand should look like on the platform. And if you really zoom out for a second, this makes complete sense, because one thing that I've noticed over the last couple of years, both from scaling my own Amazon brand past 6 million and now working with over 65 brands through our agency, is that more sellers are now thinking beyond Amazon. So a few years ago, most brands were perfectly happy being Amazon only, but now they're building Shopify stores. They do want D2C relationships, right? And more people are trying to diversify traffic sources. And a lot of sellers on Amazon, quite frankly, are just getting frustrated with shrinking margins, rising fees, and increasing competition on Amazon. So Amazon knows this. And I think what they're trying to do is make the Amazon shopping experience feel more like a true branded e-commerce experience and not just a marketplace full of disconnected product pages. So if you really think about Shopify websites, most successful D2C brands have a very consistent branding. They have a very structured navigation wireframe on their website, whether you use Shopify or WooCommerce or WordPress or anything else to develop the page. But they do have a very clear structure to their pages, and they have really rich visuals, and there's a clear storytelling aspect of it that's coming out. And after that, they really lay out their product collections really well in a very consumer-centric manner, which makes it easier for the customer to navigate and figure out what they want. There's also a lot of lifestyle media, social media references, and educational content about their product. Now, all of these things is something that technically has been available as features on Amazon brand store functionality, but Amazon has historically, number one, not really cared about that, and number two, there's never been any consistency across brands on Amazon. So if you really think about it from a consumer point of view, you could click on one Amazon brand store and it would look incredibly polished, absolutely top-notch material in terms of the content and the structure. And then there would be another one that it just feels like it was probably just built in 5 minutes, right? And then there are others which just don't even have anything at all. The brand store literally just one page with one creative thrown in there. So from Amazon's perspective, that inconsistency isn't really ideal for customer experience. So to me, this new quality system feels like Amazon trying to guide sellers toward a more unified and a more premium storefront model. And here's why I think this matters strategically, because Most sellers still think about Amazon at the listing page level, right? It's all about sales. So everything to do with creative on the gallery images and the A plus and the brand story on the ASIN page, that's pretty much what most sellers care about because that's the one that's actually driving sales. But now Amazon as a platform seems to be thinking about it as brand level. And that kind of is natural because when a platform or an ecosystem begins to mature, they stop rewarding isolated tactics forever. Eventually, they will start rewarding overall customer experience. And if you go back maybe the last 5 to 8 years, we've actually already seen this happen with A plus content and then premium A plus content, brand tailored promotions, Amazon posts, the option to follow a brand, creator connections was a big one. Now, all of these already point toward Amazon wanting stronger brands and not just sales optimized listings. And I think this new feature of Brand Store sits right in the center of that ecosystem. So how does this really impact sellers right now and what should they actually do? Now, I don't think that this means that every seller suddenly needs some insanely expensive custom designed brand store. That's not at all the takeaway from this. But I do think that sellers should start treating their brand store as an active growth asset instead of just a one-time checkbox, set and forget creative line item. So a few things that I'd focus on is number one, improve the navigation clarity. So your storefront should just feel intuitive immediately. So if a customer lands there, they should instantly understand what you sell, what are your range of products, which products solve which problems, and which collections of products do they actually want to go into, where they should click next. So the overall storefront should be very seamless in terms of every customer's needs. Number two would be to use more lifestyle and shoppable imagery. So Amazon is clearly rewarding richer visual experiences now, not just product renders, but contextual imagery that helps customers visualize a product quite naturally. And that's something that we've seen consistently improve engagement across multiple brands. Number three, I would recommend to organize your stores around customer intent, right? So don't just randomly list your products. So structure the sections around product categories, use cases, customer personas, problems being solved, because the easier the buying journey feels, the longer the customers will stay engaged on your store. And number four would be to add videos strategically. Now, I'm not saying add videos to each and every page across your storefront, but video is becoming more important across Amazon in general, and I'd say overall in e-commerce in general. It's just a more engaging creative asset than a static image. And stores that incorporate strong visual storytelling just tend to feel a lot more premium. So the big takeaway from this is that I don't think Amazon just rolled this out randomly. I think this is one of those early signals that becomes much more important over the next 12 to 24 months. And if your brand store hasn't been updated in like a year or two, this is probably a good time to revisit it. And it's not because Amazon explicitly said that you'll rank higher tomorrow if you do this, but because the direction of the platform is becoming fairly clear. And I think this shift is really good for serious brands. The more Amazon rewards actual branding and customer experience, the harder it becomes for low effort commodity sellers to compete purely on hacks and shortcuts. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you noticed any new brand store quality ratings yet? Have you seen any impact from your brand store experience? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want any help optimizing your Amazon growth strategy, PPC, creatives, or overall brand positioning, there is a strategy call in the description where you can connect with my team, and I'll see you in the next one.